This is One-on-One. Joe Della, Fave, Executive Director of Ironbound Community Corporation. Good to see you, Joe.
Nice to see you, Steve. Thank you.
I want to make sure that people may have heard in the tri-state area that we're seeing the Ironbound community, but they don't exactly know what it is. Explain where it is, and what your organization is.
Sure. The Ironbound section is the easternmost part of Newark. So it's right east of the Amtrak Penn Station lines, bordered on the north by the Passaic River, on the east by the Passaic and Newark Bay, and on the south by Newark Airport. It's called the Ironbound because of this, the railroad tracks, which in fact encircle the community. There's one railroad track to the north, which is no longer there, but that's the origin of the name. Demographically, it's been the home to immigrant populations for generations. More recently, 60s, Portuguese, Spaniards, and in the last 15, 20 years, people from Central and South America, including Brazilians. Probably about 15 of the 50,000 people, 15,000 of the 50,000 currently arrived probably in the last 10, 15 years. 2 out of 3 people were foreign born in the Ironbound.
And your organization has been making a difference for how many years?
43. 1969, one of those. I grew up in the post-riot days of Newark, trying to build it from the inside out and support families and community development.
And there's so many, people talk about community organizations, and they could be so many different things. You're involved in housing. You're involved in, this is one of the things I find fascinating, along with Investors Bank, free tax preparation for people, low and moderate income individuals. Put that in perspective, because not only would these folks have a hard time getting their tax returns done, but talk about the money that goes back into the community.
Well, many of these tax returns are for low-income people who normally wouldn't file a tax return. So you have an earned income tax credit, which is available to them. Last year, in partnership with Investors Bank, operating out of Investors Bank, providing us with an entire floor, computer terminals, access to the internet, et cetera, we did 650 households, delivering nearly $2 million back into the community. Hundreds of millions of dollars are left on the table every year by people who don't file for these types of returns. This is, in our view, and view of many, one of the greatest anti-poverty programs and economic stimulus that you can imagine. $2 million more in purchasing power in a community than existed before.
How hard is it to serve a community where people speak so many different languages and come from so many different places around the world?
Well, you have to have appropriately developed cultural and linguistic programs. Nearly all of our staff are bi or trilingual, English, Spanish, Portuguese. Our materials are in such, our delivery of services. But we're not just providing Spanish and Portuguese and English services, we're also developing families in many different ways, including proficiency to speak English.
For example?
So, for example, we provide ESL to families in a variety of ways. English as a second language. So families who come into our early Head Start program, into our early childhood program, our after-school programs, we're providing services for those kids so that we can strengthen their educational opportunities, their healthy growth and development. But we're also providing services for their families in order to allow them to be stronger, whether it's parenting skills, teaching them how to speak English so that they can read and converse with their children and their children's teachers, providing them with financial literacy, and then maybe moving them even into our adult education college courses, which we provide as well. So it's a whole variety of services, holistically strengthening.
You know, it's interesting, Joe, we've worked together as we're seeing pictures of preschool and work going on in your organization. We've worked together in so many capacities, offline as well. You're part of our initiative with the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, talking about healthcare issues, which are critical, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so interesting. I asked myself the question, people who head up nonprofits, I mean, we have a nonprofit, you have a nonprofit. We spend so much of our time, and again, for people watching us in Brooklyn or the Bronx or other parts of New Jersey around, I always ask myself, why would they care about what they're doing and what you're doing in the Ironbound? And I say to myself, one of the answers is that they might want to replicate what's going on, right? Could someone watching right now who doesn't have an organization like this in their community say, wait a minute, I want to do that. A, could they? And B, what the heck would it take? Because somebody did it. A group of people did this.
Right.
And you know, I grew up in a family where my dad started this in 1971 in a different community in Newark, just a few miles away. So, I mean, I've seen this, you've lived it, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody's doing it.
Absolutely. it obviously takes a great deal of technical capacity, for an organization as large as ours or the North Ward Center to be successful.
My father's place, yeah.
Your dad's place, bless him. But it starts with people who are passionate about their community, have a vision of where they want to head to, and now begin to put into place the pieces that allow them to get there. So I think vision and passion is as important as anything else. It doesn't produce the outcomes.
That's right.
But it generates the beginning of something vital and energetic and dynamic. And I think that's as important as anything else. Our staff are technically proficient. They're culturally and linguistically proficient and appropriate. They're also professional. Many of them come from the community, and they care so deeply about what they do. It takes all of those ingredients, I think, to produce the outcomes you're looking for. Early childhood, we want children ready and eager to learn by the time they get into kindergarten. We do that. When it gets to adult education or family services, we want people who can actually move families along with a family development plan. When it gets to advocacy, we want to be successful in advocating for policies, whether it's land use and zoning, whether it's environmental justice, whether it's in moving big projects like Riverfront Park into fruition.
Great park, terrific park.
And those are all key.
And it's funny, it never stops. How long have you been doing it?
I'm in my 21st year at Ironbound Community Corporation.
Lose any of the passion?
I am as energetic as ever right now. When you open up a new Riverfront Park on the waterfront, Newark's first such development, which will be not only important to the Ironbound community, but important to the city of Newark, and important, as we just learned just recently, to providing resiliency and mitigation for storm surges.
That's right.
So when you can do things like that, when you get the governor to mandate that the local incinerator upgrade its technology to reduce its emissions, when you get a new early childhood center, you get a $5 million donor building a new and expanding your early childhood center so that you can provide 0 to 5 services for children. These are just great things that just keep you going and motivating. And I have great staff and board, and it's wonderful work.
Making a difference every day, which is why we're doing this series called Making a Difference. And thank you, Joe Della Fave, from the Ironbound Community Corporation. I want to thank you for being with us, Joe. We appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Steve. It's always a pleasure.
Keep it up.
Oh, thank you.
One-on-one will continue with fascinating people making a difference right after this. Thank you, Joe.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, working for great public schools for every child. Investors Bank. PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. The law firm of Gibbons P.C. Health First New Jersey. Cohn Resnick, providing accounting, tax, and advisory services for more than 90 years. And by N.J. Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan. Turn a dream into a degree. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey, and by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.